Welcome to another episode of Comedy Wham Presents with me, your host Valerie, and sometime kitty co-hosts Miss Purrington and Mookie. ComedyWham.com is your place to go for features about all Austin comedy. In addition to podcasts, Comedy Wham brings you articles, album reviews, our advice column, all of my Austin Chronicle articles about the Austin comedy scene. Check out our listing of festivals from across the country and the world, and our FPIA contest page is live tracking the 2024 contest, which as of the drop of this episode, we will know our 2024 champion. And we just launched the first of 10 comedy class podcasts co-hosted with me and Alice Eich. Go check it out on YouTube. Our most popular feature is our events page for live comedy shows in Austin, Houston, and DFW, where 100% of the entries you see come from comics and producers. Click the Submit a Show button from the top of the homepage or events page to fill out the survey to get your show listed. It's free and easy. Tag us on your Instagram stories and we'll share your show promo with our followers. We also offer paid promo boosts on our Instagram posts. Want to support these resources we provide? Well, you can donate to Comedy Wham on PayPal, Venmo, or even Patreon. Click the Support CW icon on our homepage to see the many ways that you can help us. Our podcast was launched in 2016 to bring you funny people and their stories. As a fan, I like to delve into a comic's background and motivations, and will usually take a detour along the way. Consider the interview a way for you to get to know the folks that make the Austin comedy scene one of the best in the country. If you like this podcast, please rate and review us. Today, we are talking to somebody who's an improviser and a stand-up comic. They're also the creator, producer, and host of, and I always get this wrong, so please correct me, Over the Lege, which is gearing up for its 7th performance next month, but there's little teaser shows that are happening right now as we speak. Well, not right now as you speak, because she's here. She's also the producer and host of the stand-up comedy show at the New World Deli, and I think it's on the first Friday of every month.
Yes.
And it's a great, great show. I've watched it several times, been lucky enough to be on the show a time. And now Comedy Wham presents our guest, Stephanie Chiarello.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. We're kind of ramping up in the peak busyness for you, getting ready for Over the Lege.
Yes. I am realizing that I made some miscalculations. The show is October 11th to 13th at the Scottish Rite Theatre. That's the main show. It's about 90 minutes long. Maybe we have 6 or 7 sketches and 2 big musical numbers. And the Texas Tribune Festival happens every year, and it just happens to be happening right now.
Yeah.
And that's our audience, right? It's Nerd Fest. And
yeah.
So I was like, we can do a little teaser show at the Hideout a couple nights. It won't be a problem at all. We spent so much time prepping for the teaser show. We've not prepped for the big show yet.
Oh, no.
And it's a month away.
Oh.
So I'm going to have to ask for more rehearsals. That's what's going to have to happen. And since everyone is a volunteer with full-time jobs, there's a lot of pressure right now, for sure.
I would imagine. But this is your 7th one, so you've gone through this before.
Yes. Yes, and I keep telling myself it always works out. It always works out. It always works out.
Yep.
And that this is just the process. I'm just going through the process right now.
Right.
Yeah. But so I have this recording this morning. We have rehearsal this afternoon for the main show, and then we have a show tonight.
Wow.
So
busy day.
Busy.
Okay.
But so thankful to get to do these things.
Yeah. Well, Stephanie, I have an official icebreaker question.
Okay, I'm ready.
And it is one word to describe your past.
Sorted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was your childhood sorted?
It wasn't really. That was just the first word that popped into my head. Describe my past. One word. Yeah, maybe vivacious. I'll switch it. I'll switch it to vivacious.
A switch.
Yes. I'm not that exciting, but I'm very colorful.
Yeah.
Very colorful. Yeah.
So I know your professional background, and if it'll come through as we talk.
Yes.
Was performance something that was prominent in your time growing up?
Absolutely. I studied to be a ballerina. That's what I really wanted to do.
Wow.
So at about 4, I was a little young, but I started dance classes right around 4.
Wow.
So I've been on stage for a very, very long time, but normally I was in a leotard and tights, a tutu if I was lucky. Yeah.
How, at 4, kids can be very determined and focused on what they want, but how did that happen for you? Because 4, admit, it's very young to know that you want to do something.
I have an older sister. She's 2 years older, so she had started dancing, and I wanted to do it. And I'm very lucky that my mother is a very persistent woman and always advocating for her children. So where my older sister wouldn't take someone younger than 5, so my mom found another dance studio. And the way she tells the story is, because I was also very, I don't want to say hyperactive, but just active, right? I needed a lot of stimulation. And so she took me to one dance school, and the woman told me to dance on this line, just going back and forth. And I said to my mom, do I have to listen to her? Do I have to stay on the line? She was like, yeah, that's what you have to do here. So we went to another place called CATS. It's no longer there, but it stood for Creative Arts Theater and School in Arlington. And there the teacher, his name was Zach. He just was much friendlier and more freer for me. And so I got to go to CATS.
Yeah. Okay, so you said Arlington.
Yes.
So you grew up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I grew up in Burleson.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
The B of HEB, right?
Right, sure.
Oh, no, that's Bedford.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, not
Okay.
at all. Yeah. No, my reaction was, no, it's but. Because I thought you meant H-E but,
HE, but no. So Burleson is like Fort Worth towards here, right? You drive right through. That's where Kelly Clarkson is from.
Exactly.
Yes.
You're the only other person that knows that, apparently, because that's like, since she won American Idol, that's been
Right.
like my point of pride is that
Absolutely.
we can
Absolutely.
claim her.
And one of my best friends from elementary school, her name is Nikki. She was from Burleson.
Ah, okay.
So now I remember where it is. Yeah, and then I danced. So I outgrew CATS. Like CATS was formidable. They were a great opportunity, and I'm sad that kids in Arlington don't have it anymore. But right around 11 or 12, I just was too good of a dancer for that school. So my teacher sent me to her teachers in Fort Worth, very close to Burleson.
Ah, okay.
And I danced with them, and then I went to college for dance.
Wow. Where does one go to college for dance?
One went to the University of Oklahoma. I'm very sorry to say that out loud to our Austin audience. I promise I never went to a football game. I was always dancing. Don't worry. No Sooner Boomer here. But I like to say I'm like an A- in almost everything I do. Like I'm good. I'm just never good enough.
Oh.
And so I was a good dancer, but
Yeah.
just not good enough. So I spent 20 or 30 hours a week in class or rehearsal. And then when it came time to be a performance, I was like the talking wall, or there's a ballet called Firebird. I was the monster. And so it just broke my heart, really. It was a lot of work, and I never got to do anything with it. So I quit, and I came to UT,
Okay.
and I was studying biology, and then I had all these dance credits. Like, what are you going to do with 60 hours of stage makeup? And so I just got my dance degree on the side, but I ended up joining a company here called Austin Contemporary Ballet, which was a civic company. And so I danced more after I quit.
Oh, funny.
And I got to do the Nutcracker at the Paramount a couple of years. Like I got to have a mini semi-professional
moment.
career
Yeah,
for a little
yeah.
while, which was really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So biology.
Yes. I wanted to be like the park ranger who drove around in her Jeep with her, big fluffy dog who checked the fences and counted rabbits. That was a big dream of mine. I know. So I actually worked, LCRA, the Lower Colorado River Authority, has a water and soil lab, but they also have teams that go out. So I was like, I'll get on the science team, and then I'll get to go out in the field. And I found, there were probably 500,000 men who also wanted that field job. And so I just decided I couldn't crack into that field.
Huh. Okay.
And now I do politics.
Yeah. So I'm waiting for where is the
Okay.
pivot into politics? Were you always civic minded?
I was-
I
oh.
mean, it sounded from the biology and the LCRA element, yes, but
I was always civic minded. I wouldn't say I was always political, but I'm going to say I was a policymaker since a very young age. And I came to realize this only recently because my mom and I really butted heads a lot growing up. But I wasn't a bad kid. Like, I didn't have an addiction problem. I didn't get pregnant. I made good grades. And I realized I just challenged her all the time. I just challenged her authority constantly, right? If I wanted to go do something and she said no, well, why? Well, you have homework. I've done my homework. Well, I don't want to drive you. Well, Megan's mom will come get me. And then finally she's like, I just don't want you to do it. And that was never good enough for me. So I've always challenged authority. There are many stories of me throughout my life at school, in dance, where I would get in trouble because I stood up for us kids. But I don't think I was political. Now, I did get to go see Clinton in the male Clinton. A lot of people might not know that he was president. Before Hillary, there was another Clinton. So he flew to a tarmac in Dallas during the 92 or 93 election. So I did see him, but I was not very political. But when I go back to my high school reunions, people are like, oh yeah, you were always so active. Like, you were always standing up. So that's what I say.
Interesting.
I was a rabble rouser, but I couldn't have told you who was in the cabinet. I still can't tell you who was in the cabinet.
So you said that you just came to that realization that you were always policy-minded.
Yeah.
So again, I'll come back and ask. So when did you, so you give up on the LCRA
I did. I was
gig,
very sad.
and then what happened?
Well, and so then I did environmental consulting. So I also worked at MD Anderson. I did cancer research fresh out of school. Then I went to LCRA, and then I started doing environmental consulting. And I, again, started butting heads.
Gee, running theme here.
It is really a running theme. I'm always fighting for the little guy. So I found out, tell me if this is too much information, but I have a science degree. I have a biology degree. I'm doing environmental consulting, and I'm working with others who have engineer degrees. And I find out that somebody's doing the exact same job as me, and we've been in the building for the exact same amount of time, is making $10,000 more a year than me. Oh. And the manager said it's because they're an engineer, and engineers are worth more. And I said, but we're doing the same job, and it was industry standard. That's the quote. It's just industry standard. So for Halloween that year, I dressed up like a train engineer, and then I asked him if he'd pay me more that day.
Whoa.
Yeah.
How did that go?
Oh, I'm trying to remember what Mark did. Just kind of, shook his head at me. But so that motivated me. There were some other things, but always at that company, it was like, well, they wouldn't pay us to drive to a job site that was far away. So if I had a job site in Houston, they wouldn't pay me for my 3-hour time there. I was just supposed to, they couldn't charge the client, so that was me volunteering at my corporate job. But they pay for a cooler, because when you sample soil and groundwater, you have to send the samples a certain way. They'd pay for the cooler to come from Houston to the lab. So I was like, well, wait a second, so you do pay for travel. And so I just kept butting up against management. And I think it was really Christmas that year, and my husband at the time said, I think you need to go back to school. I don't want to give him credit for saying that. I don't remember exactly, but I saw the LBJ School of Public Affairs, and I just started looking into going back to school for public policy. So in about 3 weeks, I took the GRE and applied, and then I got into grad school.
Wow.
And that was a major turning point. It was a turning point in my life. My parents are from New York. That's where that came from. So then I went to school. So I went to the LBJ school, and I switched, and I interned in the Capitol, and that's how I ended up there.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's my story.
So that is the story,
That's the story,
origin story.
I will say like I think when you get older, you're like, I don't have any dreams anymore. I have goals, but I don't have any dreams. But not being a ballerina was the death of a dream that made me very sad, and I'm getting a little teary-eyed now. And not doing biology, right? Not getting to be that sexy, tough loner, Park ranger was also a little death. So those are my two big deaths of dreams. And I don't know. Do you feel like you have a dream anymore? Or
no,
they're just goals?
I think about that now they're just goals, because I'm I'm significantly old at this point, and yeah.
Yeah, I think
And
I'm
now
older.
with the empty nest thing, it's like, oh, I'm really old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We sure brought the energy
Gosh,
down here. Do you know
man.
who Eliza Gilkison is? She's a singer. She's a folk singer. She has a song that says, "We come upon the time in our lives when the little dreams live and the big dreams die."
Oh, oh,
Just really,
oh!
like, oh my God.
That just brought like the emotions. The tears are gonna
It
start. Oh my
is.
God, we're gonna just start crying here,
Okay,
everyone.
so anyway, I don't know if I'd say that doing comedy is a dream. But I will say it brings a lot of joy. It certainly brings me a lot of
Yes.
joy. Way to go, Chiarello.
Oh, yeah.
Make him laugh and make him cry. Please turn the podcast off. Yeah. But I was talking to my mom about doing shows, and there's nothing like the power of making somebody laugh. Mm-hmm. It feels so good to make somebody else laugh. So that's why I do it.
Yeah. Well, we didn't talk about how did that evolution start happening. I mean,
Okay.
getting the firsthand observation into the legislature must have kindled something. But was that your first turn at comedy? Because one of your credits is that
Yes.
you're an improviser. So
Yes. Yes. I think the improvising came first.
Okay.
But I started watching The Daily Show and The Colbert Report, and I've always watched Saturday Night Live. I've always loved those things.
we're like twins, I believe.
I
we're,
think
we're
we
like
are.
twins.
I
Yeah.
think we are.
Yeah.
So I'm at the legislature. Well, I started improv, I think, in 2011. So I was already in the legislature, but not thinking about Over the Ledge yet. And I was divorced. I guess I was divorcing. I was sad. I was bored. And all I was feeling was sadness, really. All I could feel was the despair. And I had a friend who did improv named Sean. And he said, "You really need to go take a class." And then there was a Groupon. Yep. Connecting my joys of thrifting. And so I took a class at Merlin Works in 2011. And by the time I signed up, it was the second class. And I'm not joking, I was so scared to walk into that second class because I was like, they're going to be mean to me. They've already had one class. They're going to, I mean, I really had like the heartbeat, fight or flight, like sit in my car in the parking lot. And then I walked in and, my life completely changed.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, it is all because of Sean and a Groupon. Sean and a Groupon and a little courage. But I just needed something else. And improv and stand-up, I don't know if you feel this way, but I'm scared every time. I get all nervous.
Yeah.
And I've decided that those chemicals that go through your body when you're nervous and scared, that's like my crossword puzzle. Because I can't do a crossword puzzle. I can only do the mini. I could do a word search. Man, can I kill a word search, but I cannot do a crossword puzzle. But I feel like it flushes my body of chemicals, and that's how I fight off Alzheimer's and other, like that fear, like just having a different feeling, especially when you're very, very sad. You'll do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I think every comedian is depressed, but then is anyone depressed if we're all depressed?
I mean, maybe that's just the state of the
It's the
human
new
condition.
normal.
Yeah.
I think we just, so I don't remember what the question was. But then, so I'm doing improv. I'm still taking dance classes, by the way, at that time. I'm not performing, but I'm still doing a little ballet here and there. And then I'm sitting there in the Texas legislature watching committee hearings. So there are committees that meet, like a transportation committee and a healthcare committee. And then each body meets on the floor. It's called the floor of their chamber. So the House meets in session and the Senate meets in session. And during committee hearings, the legislators behave terribly, really terribly. They ask stupid questions. They say mean things. They're not paying attention. And I'm watching all of this happening, and I'm realizing only we pay attention. Only the people inside the building, the staff, the members, the lobbyists, maybe a few reporters, but people don't care about local government. Like at best, maybe they can tell you who the president is. And people seem to know who Ted Cruz is. They don't realize that he's a federal senator, though. So I just started getting this idea in my head that we really need a Colbert Report, a Daily Show that is Texas only.
Yeah.
From Governor Abbott down. And so that was my motivation.
Wow.
And then a former theater called the Institution Theater used to take pitches
Yeah.
And so I think it was 2015, 2016, and I pitched this live show, and they said yes. So that's how Over the Ledge started.
Nice. I just got, my heart kind of sank at the thought that Greg Abbott has been part of every single one of your...
He has.
Good
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. I don't
People.
know if he's the longest running governor, but he's close. And I don't know if
Yeah.
you know that Rick Perry, our former governor, just got announced as an advisor to the current Speaker of the House, Dade Phelan.
I think I did hear something about him.
So we have a governor
Yeah.
is now an advisor, but don't worry, there's no rotating door. We're fine.
Yeah,
Everything's
yeah.
fine.
Nothing's-
Yeah, that's
yeah.
horrific to think that Greg Abbott has been in every single show. He has.
Yeah,
He has.
yeah. Well, alrighty. As if we weren't sad enough about
That's-
our dreams dying. Abbott is still around after 7 years.
Yeah, I mean, we had said that.
But back to the happy
yeah.
origin story.
Okay, there we go. That is my villain for good, my vigilante origin story.
And you're poised because you're in Austin, which is because I don't know. So there's the thought is escaping me that there is so Esther's Follies.
Love it.
They do a lot of political stuff, and I've read interviews where they say, we try to lambast both sides.
Yes.
And where does Over the Ledge draw its line, or does it?
It does draw a line, and I'm not joking when I say these next words. We are a non-partisan show.
Okay.
I will lampoon anyone.
Okay.
But we're also a show that punches up to power. And Democrats have no power
Yeah.
in Texas. Zero, none. You could run that building with no Democrats in it.
Yeah.
They have such a majority.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm lying this much. Like, you couldn't make quorum on the House, but you can pass any bill that's not a constitutional amendment bill without a single Democrat.
Yeah.
And that's only in the House. You could do anything you want in the Senate. The Democrats could never show up to work, and the Senate would still operate. So how do you make a joke
Yeah.
about someone who has no power?
Yeah.
That's the opposite of the kind of joke telling I want to do. So we try very hard. And in this year's show, we have a sketch called the House Democratic Caucus Call, like a Zoom phone call. And it shows some disorganization. Like, that's kind of the best I could do. But I welcome any writer who wants to come to the show and has, a good joke that punches up to power.
Yeah.
But what are you supposed to do? Like, ha ha, look at those people trying to not push immigrant kids back into the Rio Grande. Oh, that's so funny. I don't know what, let's take their lunch. I don't know how to make that funny. That's not my shtick. That's not my shtick. But we are nonpartisan. And even independent of my personal views, the one of the major problems we have here in Texas is that it's one party who's been in power for so long, and it is unchecked.
Yeah.
It is unchecked. And so that's how Governor Abbott has made his position so powerful, because the governor of Texas is supposed to be a weak position.
Right.
That's how Ken Paxton has gotten away with everything he gets away with. So if the Democrats were in power and had been in power this way, they would act exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's really just a story about why you need to vote and why you need checks on power. Because if Galadriel couldn't handle the ring in Lord of the Rings.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I say Galadriel.
Okay.
Nobody can.
I wouldn't have known.
If
either
the
way.
Elven Queen can't handle it, nobody can handle that kind of power. So that's where. So yes, this is a call for conservative writers. If you want to go after the Democrats, I'm here for you. But we have yet to think of a way to harpoon the efforts that they're trying to make.
Yeah. Okay. So how did you feel after that first live show that you did?
Oh, like magic, the
Yeah.
magic had happened. Institution was a very small show. I'm sorry, very small theater.
Yeah.
I think it's at 40, maybe 50 if you literally put chairs on the
Yeah.
stage, and the stage is about as big as your table here. But we sold out every show. And it's only 50 seats, but we sold them all out. And the show is structured. It starts with a monologue, like you'd see a late night TV monologue. Then we do sketches that are Saturday Night Live-esque. And the second act is predominantly me interviewing a legislative celebrity, is what I call them. And I try to have legislators, if I can get them, and then like a reporter, an activist, a lobbyist, because the point of the show, besides making people laugh, is to let people learn about the Texas legislature and see that they're just people. They're just people, and they're right here. You can walk into that building during session and walk by members probably without even realizing it, but you could talk to your own member. There's a 20% chance, I'd say. You'll definitely be able to talk to their staff. So I want people to not get the sound bites you get on a typical interview, but hear behind the scenes stories. So I've been lucky because of my connections of where I work that I had now Mayor, former Senator Kirk Watson has been on the show almost every time. Senator Wendy Davis has been on the show. I've had lobbyists that represent labor and teachers and immigration law. So the first season was also, I did underestimate how much work that would be. So I was like, you know what? We're going to have 4 weekends and we're going to do a different theme each weekend. So we had, I think, like 20 sketches. So one weekend was immigration, one weekend was education. I don't remember what the other weekends were, but we had different sketches. So bless their hearts, the actors who pulled that off. So after that, we've just done a much shorter run with the same show. The same show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that one of your recent guests, I think it was on part 6. Well, you'll correct me.
Okay.
Jean Wu, to me, has become like a major rock star in the Texas political world.
Yeah, he's amazing.
I love him.
Yes, yeah. I tried to get him to do this live show, but it didn't work with his schedule. I think he's on the podcast. He hasn't been on the live show.
Okay. All right.
But he says he will. And he just tells it like it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to, pitch my own thing on this thing, but I guess that's exactly what I'm doing. But on Over the Lege, the podcast, he's been on twice, and he just talks about what a privilege it is, to be an American citizen because he earned his citizenship, and then the plight of his people and all people and what we're fighting for.
Yeah.
So he's articulate and just no filter.
Right.
And you should follow him on Twitter because he does not give a fuck. He does not give one.
So I stopped being on Twitter, and his voice, along with Michael Ian Black's voice, are the two voices that I miss the most.
Yeah.
I can listen to a Michael Ian Black podcast and kind of get a little bit of a flavor, but I don't know. I don't want to go back to that cesspool.
It's terrible. I only go on it to tweet things about my shows. I don't scroll. It's a terrible place.
Yeah.
It's a terrible place. But during session, it's very useful because members and reporters are tweeting like exactly what's happening that you can't see. But it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's
All right,
horrible.
here we go, back down again.
I know, but hey, there's a hummingbird on your hummingbird feeder, and the hummingbird. I love hummingbirds and manatees. Those are my animals.
We won't see any manatees here, unfortunately. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Stephanie.
not even in that creek back there.
No,
a freshwater manatee.
Can you imagine?
Okay. Now you know what? See, is it a dream or is it a goal? Because I would like to swim with the manatees.
Oh, that would be cute.
Yeah, but I'm scared of the gators. Like wherever there are manatees, there are also alligators. So that's a problem that I'm having. So Over the Lege Part 1 was very successful. We stayed in the institution for Part 2, which was also very successful. And then we moved to the Long Center in the smaller theater, the Rollins Theater, for Parts 3, 4, 5. I'm sorry, 3, 4, and 6. 5 was virtual. That was COVID.
Okay.
So we did a lot of videos. Yeah, they're on our YouTube channel, Over the Lege.
Nice. When did stand-up fit in?
Oh, God. Okay, so again, it was that same sort of like I need a new fix. I need a new scare. So it was right before COVID. It was 2020, and it was one of the last classes the institution had with Valerie Lopez. I took a 101, and I was very scared, and she made it fun and easy.
Yeah.
Not easy. I'm sorry. She made it fun and accessible.
Yeah.
That's the right word. So that's when I started doing stand-up. And I always do a monologue in Over the Lege, but other people wrote it for me, and they continue to write it because I'm sure I do everything for the show, and even though I get help, even though I'd rather just be writing, it's very nice to have somebody else who writes so that I am doing the other things. So I just wanted to have a new skill. a new skill. So I took the 101 class. That recital or performance is probably like the best one you'll ever do in your whole life because everybody who's there is there to support somebody in the class. And so you just think you are the funniest person in Austin. Not that I made it this year or anything, that's fine. But I look back at those jokes because I keep all my sets, like I write them in a Google Doc, and I look back at them now and like I don't think those jokes are funny at all. But I remember that moment being very, very powerful. And then COVID hit. I mean, I really think that was the very end of February, and because I was supposed to do a show for Valerie like March 5th, and then my family was like, "Don't do it, don't do it," and then we shut down. Everything shut down. So then one of the girls I met in that class, her name is Carson, we started doing a brunch online stand-up show called Mimosas and Mics.
Oh, Carson Quinn.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love her.
I love her too. Yeah, when I saw her in class, I was like, we are going to be friends. And she was pregnant. She's like 7 months pregnant. It was like, hey, guys. Yeah. So we did that all through COVID. And I enjoyed it. And the audience never laughed because it was virtual.
Yeah, right.
So it really set me up for cold rooms. Like I was ready. I was ready for my sets that bomb. But so then, so I didn't really get out in the real world. I guess 2021, 2022.
And then what did you do? Because the landscape of stand-up comedy in Austin was completely different.
Yeah. Well, I'm not the greatest. Again, I don't have any dreams. Like, I love doing stand-up, and my goal is to do it once or twice a month in Austin, and I'd love to be Austin famous, right? Maybe go to a festival here or there, but there's no part inside of me who thinks I'm going to break into the big world. Yeah. Like, I might make my own YouTube special, but Netflix and Comedy Central, they're not calling, and I'm not trying to get them to call. Yeah. I want them to call for Over the Ledge. That I want. But this is just, I like making people laugh. It gets me out. I really enjoy it. So I'm terrible about going to open mics. And I need to work on that. But they're also, I feel, I'm a little scared to say this out loud, but the vibe at open mics isn't always great, especially for women. Not that I feel threatened by any of the men there. Some of the jokes I don't find funny or useful. They're definitely punching down. And I mean, if you want to tell a transphobic joke, you gotta punch a different way. So, and you go and people sign up, and then if you're low on that list, there are 2 people out there in the audience still watching you. And so I get about as much feedback from my stuffed animals. So it's hard. So honestly, that's why I started hosting my own show, was so that I could have a predominantly woman show. I always have a token man or 2, because they are funny too, Valerie.
What?
They are. Men can be funny. And then I got to get on stage and I got to curate the art a little bit. So I'm trying to create a safer space, and I don't want to say anything bad about any community. You tell the jokes you want to tell. I don't care. They're just not the ones that I want to be around a lot. And I don't want to start a female versus male comic conversation either. I just noticed that they're predominantly male-dominated shows, and I wanted to create something else. So
you may not, but I do. No.
So I wish I would get booked more. Yeah,
everybody, please book Stephanie more.
I'm funny. I mean, I'm not dirty. I don't know. No, I think I'm edgy. Like I talk about uncomfortable things, but I'm never gonna. Yeah. You're
not profane.
Thank you.
Yeah. You can be a little naughty.
Thank you. Naughty. Naughty, but not raunchy.
Right.
I think.
I
like that. I need to write that down.
Naughty, but not raunchy. Yeah. It's your new sticker or a little.
I like that. So after Over the Ledge, which is October 11th to 13th at the Scottish Rite Theatre this year, I will try to work on stand-up and achieve that goal of about twice a month and do bigger things.
To be fair, there are some open mics that I think the vibe is less what you described. So it is a matter of finding them. But also, counterpoint is that presumably you have a full-time job.
Yes.
And you have to wake up at a decent hour.
Yes.
So going to a late night open mic is a challenge,
Yeah.
even if it has a good vibe and you have a gate checker host who says, yeah, we're not going to do that kind of material here.
Yes.
And pull those people off the stage.
Yes.
And hopefully that becomes a self-regulating thing, that people that do that kind of stuff, they don't try to go to those mics,
Right.
so that it is a more
Yeah.
positive
like
environment.
that.
So kudos to open mics that do try to cultivate
I
a better
agree.
culture.
And I think I've just established a new goal is let's make comedy earlier. Why can't we have a great
Thank
open mic
God.
at 7:30 or
Yes,
8?
yes.
Why does it have to be later? When
yeah.
did that start? I'm going to have to look into the history.
I will tell you that Sunset Strip,
Okay.
bless their hearts, they, we have a rule at Comedy Wham that if you tag us on your Instagram post, we will share it.
Yes.
And they tag us religiously.
Okay.
And I see their schedule, and they do have early open mics.
Okay, I need to write that
And
down.
if you're working downtown, that's just a hop, skip, and a
Yeah,
jump from where you
yeah.
are. So they do
Thank
like
you.
a Java and jokes.
Okay.
So you can get coffee. So bless them for not
Let's-
encouraging, alcoholism in the
Yes.
middle of the day.
Caffeine addiction is fine.
Yeah.
Fine, as I take a sip.
Yeah. So
Okay, I will look them up. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Okay, so we are at about the halfway point. I didn't give you a heads up about this, but what we're going to do now, before we go into our second half, is we're going to do this little card game from Esther Perel, Where Should We Begin? Richard, our web guru, he gifted me this, and I've incorporated it into the podcast. And these are open-ended questions.
Okay.
And what you're going to do is you're going to point to one of these cards. So point to, okay?
I'm pointing to the one on my left, her right.
Thank you. So I'm going to read this one to you to answer
Okay.
after you read this one to me. And we're going
Okay.
to just play a little game here.
This sounds wonderful. Yes, I am putting on my readers for those of you who aren't here. Okay, here we go. A question I've always wanted to ask my parents.
A question I've always wanted to ask my parents. Ooh. Well, I can ask my mom. I live with
That's right,
well, I can ask
Mommy.
her anything. Oh, man.
I know, this is a tough one.
I mean, I'll just blurt out the first thought that I had is, why did you guys stay together?
Oh,
Because there was a point in time that I remember very vividly. I was probably in junior high. My dad was an alcoholic, and he was not a pleasant alcoholic.
sorry.
Yeah. He eventually, after I called him out on it, he stopped drinking and became a much better human being overall.
Wow.
To everybody around him. And I just wonder, because I know I am best friends with my mom growing up, and and I just remember how tortured she was. And I don't know what he got out of the deal, if, this was how he responded. So I do wonder, like, why did you guys stay
why they stayed together.
Yeah.
Is he still alive?
No.
I wonder what
Yeah.
choices your mom was making
Yeah.
and him.
Yeah. I mean, I think,
Wow.
in the older generations, there's still that, we're married, we got to stick it through. But at some point, do you?
Do you? Yeah. At the same time, women couldn't leave the way we can leave now, and not
That's
every
true.
woman can leave now.
Yeah,
Right? It was
yeah.
like, do you leave with no money and no job and no options?
Yeah.
But abuse is terrible. Also,
Yeah.
those are tough.
Yeah.
Those are tough. Well, way to go. Where should we begin?
Yeah.
For taking us back down. Really appreciate this game.
Let's see if we can lighten the
Okay.
mood.
Oh,
a
no.
little bit.
Okay.
Oh, this is hilarious. Because
Okay.
okay.
I'm ready.
So, Stephanie, a secret I've kept from my parents. Can you believe we really are twins?
We are. Oh, a secret I've kept from my parents. Oh, I could go dark, but I won't. I'll try to not do that one.
And I've met your parents, and they are the best. I love your parents.
Thank you for saying that. They're so wonderful. They will definitely listen to the podcast. A secret I've kept from my parents. Well, there's one, but I have told them about it recently, but I kept it for a very long time.
I can edit this
You
out,
can
and then
edit
you can.
Okay. Okay,
I won't edit,
okay.
by the way, but
A secret I kept from my... they actually know an incredible amount about my life. Oh, yeah, see, if I went dark, they do not know how, no, I don't want to say that one. Okay, I'm going to say the other one. When I was a kid, my dad is a pediatrician, so it was very hard to fake being sick.
I love that.
It's very hard to fake being sick. And, my mom was very good at this test. So after watching E.T., which is my favorite movie, do you remember how Elliot puts his thermometer in the light to raise the temperature? I would do that as a kid. And I know my mom was like, but she feels fine. And I feel terrible about it now because I made her question her parenting abilities. But I made the mistake of, it went up to 104 or 105 and I didn't realize I had to shake it down to something normal. So... that cost me one thermometer once, but that is something I would do. I copied Elliot. That's a secret.
That's hilarious. Oh. That's very hilarious.
Do you want to trade?
Huh?
Oh, I can also do both. I don't know if I have a question. A question I don't ever want to ask my parents.
And a secret?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't want to answer that one.
No, all right. No. Didn't work. Scrap that. Scrap it. I like that.
A for effort, though.
Thank you. A minus. Remember, I am an A minus person.
A minus. Good, but
that's exactly
not quite
just
good enough.
Okay,
so let's dig into some of the process for Over the Ledge. So you're doing your 7th part.
Yes.
What were the dates again?
Why, it's October 11th to 13th at the Scottish Rite Theatre, Friday, Saturday night, and Sunday afternoon. Thank you for asking.
Yes, of course, Stephanie.
It is. Okay, so we did part 5 was COVID, part 6 was at the Long Center, and part 6 was so hard, and I got demoralized. And I said, I will never do this fucking show again. Oh. Never, ever, ever. I had a heart... a whole other episode on what it's like working with the Long Center, which they are terrible to work. I'm happy to say it.
Wow.
They are horrible to work with. If you are local talent, they are terrible to you. And so I had a horrible time administratively. I was struggling to get the cast to show up, and then our ticket sales were just really not very good. Part of that is the Long Center's fault. But I just was like, nobody wants this, right? I need to look at all the information, and it's too much work, and I'm never, ever, ever, ever doing it again. And then here we are.
Here we are, part 7.
And so I did. I took at least a year off, and then I just felt like we need it. I feel like we need it.
Yeah.
And it's my rebellion. That's what I should have said. I'm rebellious. That's what should have been my one word. This is how I stand up to power.
Yeah.
This is how I do. I vote also, but you feel desperate and like there's nothing you can do, and so this is my way of trying to do something. So, I just called Scottish Rite. I was like, well, there are very few theaters anymore in town, and they're very hard to get into. So, Scottish Rite just happened to suddenly, with only 6 months of planning, they were open. And this is a very long story to say. It's also OU Texas weekend, which I didn't think about. It's ACL weekend too, which I didn't put together, and it's also Yom Kippur, which is the biggest Jewish holiday there is. Although Sunday, you can still come Sunday if you celebrate Yom Kippur because it's the day after. So maybe the weekend's not the greatest fit, but I'm used to overcoming obstacles. So the process for planning for that's what it was. I was like, well, if I can find a theater.
Okay, so when you decided that you were going to do it, you had already decided before you started figuring out the theater situation.
That I was going to do it?
Yeah.
If I found a theater. It's kind of like, well, I'll just put a feeler out there.
Yeah.
I'll just see. And then they did, and I don't know if you've been in that theater, but it is adorable.
Gorgeous,
The building is wonderful. The theater, you know, there's just a magic vibe on the theater. You could probably get to Hogwarts through one of the pillars on that stage. It's such a magical place.
Yeah.
But I have wanted to quit the show again. I was having a hard time getting actors, and I decided. So some people have been with the show repeatedly, and I just think people always want to do the show. It's an amazing show. What do you mean you've gotten more popular and too busy and have other interests and are doing your own thing? Like, that hurts me personally. Didn't say it was reasonable. I'm just saying it hurts me personally. So, and I very much I don't want anybody doing this show who doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
Like, don't do me a favor, because it's obvious that you're begrudging. So I didn't have that many people, and then I had a hard time getting writers to commit. And so I said to myself, these I'm not chickening out. It's like, these are red flags. If I can't get writers and I can't get actors, then how am I going to put a show together? But like we said earlier, it always happens. It always pulls off. So I'd say maybe August 1st was the last time I was like, I'm out. I'm done. I'm pulling the plug. I'm losing my deposit. It's too much work. We had an audition, and that revived me with the people who showed up, the new people who showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How would you describe the people that are part of the show?
Total misfits. 100% misfits. But very talented and sincere and committed and dedicated. But every one of three of them, I don't know what words would describe them, but you can tell, when you tell a story and then somebody like has a better story. One of the women, Janet, she has been through so much trauma, really, but she just always has a story. So you'll be like, oh my gosh, I had this really hard time, getting back from DC after the storm. And she's like, well, once I had to escape from North Korea in a box, and you're like, what are you talking about? But it's true. It really happened to her. She's not making that stuff up. So her and another woman named Griffin was an actress in New York City, 30, 40 years ago. So she's got stories of, bartending and I would just love to sit down with many of these women. Then Tom Booker is in our show, and he's the co-director, and he's almost famous or famous adjacent. People you'd really want to talk to and get to know. So they all bring those experiences to the table, and a lot of passion about voting. Everybody really cares.
Yeah. And the writing team?
The writing team, they're fine.
Okay.
No, I'm joking. Same thing. The writing team is very committed. Let me think about the writers. One of the writers, this is the first time he's writing, and he is a political operative in the Rio Grande Valley, and he just had a lot to say, and we actually took one of his sketches. It's called Chat GPT, and we'll be performing it.
Very cool.
Yes, and then I have to, my head writer, her name is Amy Kay, and she writes all the monologue jokes, and she always comes through, and they're always hilarious. And even for the podcast, I can just grab them and read them right away. I don't ever have to edit them. She has my voice. She has the voice of the show, and I'm really lucky to have her.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Are there any, let's see. So this is number 7.
Yes.
Do you tweak the formula every time, or do you pretty much, other than the theme debacle of the first one?
Yeah. Whew. Sorry, guys and ladies. I'm so sorry. That was my mistake.
Do you tinker with your formula and your format?
I generally have not. We have found a very good format.
Yeah.
That being said, we have these musical numbers that were original and written by a gentleman named Mike O'Connor that we've always sung the opener and closer. Same ones all these years. And this year I decided I wanted to do something else. I don't know if we're going to pull it off. Come to our show October 11th to 30th. See. But I was a little inspired by Taylor Swift. My niece is really into Taylor Swift. I like her, this empowerment. So I was like, ooh, we're going to do an opener and closer that are parodies of Taylor Swift songs. And we're going to do them really, I'm pumping my chest, dancing here, really Britney Spears, sexy, fun dancing. I'm like, oh, we can pull that off. Well, like I said, it took us 3 rehearsals to pull off songs for the show we're doing tonight that we've sung those songs for 6 years. So I'm a little worried. So the only thing I'm changing is the opener and closer.
Okay.
They're going to be different songs with different styles of dancing. And I guess I make lots of mistakes. And so the lesson here is you too can grow from your mistakes. But, in my mind, so the opener and closer have dance moves. And they're not that hard to me. But I forget that somebody who has zero dance training, just step touching is hard. And I'm not trying to make fun of them, but it was what do you mean you can't walk in a line that crosses over each other, like, so we spend more time on the dance numbers than we do the sketches, and I wanted to undo that this year, which is why I'm doing the opener and closer with non-cast members, like special dance people.
Oh, fun.
Their name are the Zumba Poppies.
Oh, okay.
And they teach Zumba where I take Zumba, and they're adorable and wonderful, and so they'll be doing it. And then I'm trying to find more dancers for that, like people who really want to dance, not that I'm forcing them to dance. So that's really the only thing we've changed. And then we have these characters that come back every year called Ma and Pa that Tom Booker does with Janet Makis.
Nice.
And they were Frontera Fest winners, and so So the question is the formula stays exactly the same. The secret sauce works.
Is there anything else? Do you do just improv in its pure form anywhere? Maybe not the show.
In my life, I do, just every day.
Yeah.
No, I want to. I miss it. I really, really miss it. I did start TAing improv, and I'm supposed to be able to teach at Merlin Works. We just haven't made a class work. But I miss it. Teaching made me miss it so much. And we have a little bit of it in Over the Ledge. In the second act, I interview the celebrity guest for about 20 minutes, and it's a real interview, asking real quick, and then I pull 2 improvisers out from the cast, and they become other characters, and it's pretty much good, bad, worst, where I ask them more questions, and they just say really crazy things.
Yeah.
So that's where that is.
Okay.
But I will say, I'm going to take a sideline here, is that improv not only has helped me on stage, but it's really helpful at work. So I work at the Capitol, and we talk to a lot of people who are very passionate. Nobody comes to you at the Capitol when they're like calm, right? And things are going their way.
Yeah.
It's always, you're like on the like escalated customer service line. Everybody's angry, and nobody wants to be there. So I used to have a lot more kind of headbutting with people, or if I disagreed with them, because everyone I've ever worked for has an open door policy. You can come in and you can talk to us about anything. Well, listen, we're not going to do what you ask us to do, but you are welcome to come talk to us about anything. And improv has helped me like de-escalate in those meetings, because if somebody is like, I've called you 20 times and nobody answers the phone and I can't get I'm like, oh my God, that is so terrible. Instead of like, you've called 3 times, like I haven't. And so when you, they don't know I'm playing with them, but if you heighten or you yes and where they are, I have found I have de-escalated constituents and been able to talk with them. And when you're talking to somebody who does not have a policy position that you think is smart, you can play, improvise with them. Like, oh, that's so interesting that you don't want parents making decisions for their children. Is that because, right? Instead of just button up against them, you just get into the game. So it's really helped me with those difficult situations.
That's cool.
I like it, yeah.
I have a feeling that if I ask you what's the worst thing about having a job in politics, I would spoil probably a lot of what the show is. So let me just ask you, what's the best part about working in politics?
The best part about working in politics is being able to help individuals with problems that they can't figure out on their own. And because of my political persuasion, the policies I want never pass, right? So the big things, and I do these things called Text Ledge 101s, where I will come and talk to any group just about how the legislature works and the best way to advocate for yourself. And what I have to tell people is, like, you are not going to win. Like, these hot topics, doesn't matter how smart you are, doesn't matter how many people you bring to the Capitol. These votes are set. And you have to change your mind about what a win is, right? But so we can't pass those bills, right? I can't get kids' lunches. I can't get, like, we can try, and those things hurt an awful lot. But you can call me and tell me that you're having trouble getting your Medicaid benefits, and you've been applying for 4 months and nobody will answer because, by design, the legislature purposely doesn't have enough employees at HHSC. But I can call government relations and I can get you help that day. So I don't think people understand that you can call your state legislators about state agency issues you are having, and we have ways to be helpful. So it's not a favor. I'm not doing anybody a favor. I can just escalate something or call the right person. And especially right now in a world where you can't get a hold of anybody ever,
Right.
we can do that for you. So when I help people, that feels really good.
Yeah.
Like most recently, there's something called the Texas Armed Scholarship Program. It's TASP. I can't think of what the second S is, but it's a $15,000 scholarship to anyone in college who wants to go into the military, and it's through the Higher Ed Coordinating Board. So we take applicants and we review them, but everyone who gets nominated gets the scholarship. So we just managed to give some kid $15,000. I mean, that could change his life,
Yeah.
and I got to be a part of that. So those are the wins.
Yeah.
Those are the things that feel really good.
Nice.
Yeah. The things that suck, Valerie.
We don't have hours.
We don't have hours. Yeah, I mean, you learn the Stephanie of 2007 who interned is definitely not the Stephanie of 2024 right now. I think I am still as idealistic as I always was. I'm just a little bit more realistic.
Yeah.
So I care just as much about these things, and I still think they're just as terrible. But back then I was like, well, with this argument, with this wonderful chart that I have made, with this expert who's a doctor who takes care of women with ectopic pregnancies, but you really have to compartmentalize and decide what you can and cannot change. And that's been really demoralizing. And this year I'm a little more scared. I'm going to pretend you asked the question, like, aren't you scared for your job while you're doing this show, making fun of the very people who employ you? Which I don't. I don't make fun of my direct boss.
Yeah.
And in the past, it has not felt as dangerous as it feels right now. Because it's just satire, and we do it, and that's one of like the tenets of our country is the freedom to talk about your government and talk about what they're doing badly. And as much as I think Over the Ledge is awesome, I don't know if Greg Abbott knows it exists. I suspect his staff member does, but we're under the radar. I get 20 likes, and I think I'm killing it on social media, right? We get 500 people to see a show. I'm like, we did it, guys, we're winning. So I don't even know if it's on their radar, but the attitude in the Capitol has gotten very, I don't know if fascist is the right. It's very much like, not only are we going to win every policy debate, if you disagree with us and you do it publicly, we will silence you.
Yeah.
Right. And with them, they're banning books and they're banning DEI. And I really do. I don't think that banning satire is that far off. So my worry thoughts are there. And I've always been like, oh, freedom of speech. Well, it doesn't actually protect you as much as I thought it did. So it feels a little dangerous. And I have one cast member who, she's still doing the show, but she said, I'm scared. Like, what if somebody comes, with a gun and decides that we're not allowed to do this? And then we had another cast member who had to leave because he is a teacher in a very conservative school district. And he said, even if I change my name, if I have a stage name, if some mom sees me in this sketch, he could lose his job. So I'm angry and I'm sad and I'm mad. And so there's a tinge of a bad danger, not like good danger. This feels a little scary, but I still feel like we need to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Be a trailblazer.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'm trying, but people have to follow by coming to my show October 11th. Did I tell you? I
Don't
need
let
to.
the haters stop you.
That's
Go.
right. Yeah, well, you got to, and
Stand up for your rights to watch Over the Ledge
Yeah.
on, what was the date again?
I believe it's October 11th to the 13th.
And where?
It's at Scottish Rite Theater.
Oh, where can people buy tickets?
They can buy tickets.
Oh my God.
It's only $25,
Woohoo.
and the ticket link is bit.ly, bit.ly OTL Part 7, all capital. And you know what I'm going to do for you, Valerie? I'm going to create a 20% off Comedy Wham
Oh my God.
discount code
Whoa.
that we'll put in the notes of this show. So
After 330 some odd episodes, this is the first time anybody has ever offered a Comedy Wham
well,
discount
I care
code.
about you
Oh.
and what you do also. So I want your listeners to be able to come to the show and be able to afford it.
Awesome.
And of course,
Awesome.
seriously, if you want to come to the show and you can't afford it, just email me and I'll get you a comp.
Very nice.
I mean, if we have any seats available.
Right.
Because
it's going to sell out.
It's going to sell out.
Because all those people in the downtown area, they're going to be looking for entertainment.
They do, I mean, this is what got me so mad about part 6 is I was like, there are 5,000 people in that building, associated with that building here every day. I only had 450 seats, right? I had 150 seats for 3 nights. You're telling me I couldn't get 10% of that people?
Yeah.
And so that has bothered me. But I spoke to somebody else and he said, you're targeting the wrong people. You need to target theater goers. I don't know how to target theater goers, but you were talking about Esther's Follies earlier, and I actually just joined their writing team, which is a dream. I do want to say, when I first came to Austin, so I guess dream achieved, but I guess I don't want to speak for them. But so they are political comedy, but they're also just comedy, and they are struggling with how political are they, because it used to be fun and funny, and both sides could do this. And now it's gotten so toxic. So I know they're struggling with that kind of question too, of how do you write political comedy that doesn't offend, right? You don't want audience members leaving, but how do you leave stuff on the table that needs to be said? So I assume that every political themed comedy entity right now is facing some of those questions, some of those challenges.
Except The Daily Show.
No, they're killing it.
And John Oliver.
I love John Oliver.
He's the best. I'm a late arrival on the John Oliver show.
Yeah.
So good. Okay.
I love all those shows, and they're still very hard for me to come home and watch because I do that work all day.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So for me, it's like a break.
Yeah. And so when I do watch, I'm like, oh, that's great. Yeah. But I can't turn it on. It's very hard to turn on. And I will say, I said all that about my writers and my cast, but I believe we are as funny as any sketch you see on Saturday Night Live, as any monologue, joke, or bit that you see. We're just not seen, right? Like, I will watch us, when I do watch those shows, we make the same joke. I was like, oh, we made that joke. We came to the same conclusion, right? From seeing, like, we've got it. We've got the talent. We're just a little ragtag group of people with a $13,000 budget, right? Like, that's what I got.
Yeah.
That's like how much one of John Oliver's suits is, I'm quite sure. So
Probably.
We're killing it. We're killing it. Maybe A+ for this. Maybe I'm going to up my effort here.
As you should.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Is there anything we haven't talked about before I ask you our closing question?
Oh, my goodness.
Or something you want to share about yourself?
Oh, there's so much to talk about. Anything else to share about me before you ask the closing question? Okay, I'm just going to talk about some of my pet peeves, all right? Okay. Here's some things to know about me. 1.
Oh, God, it's a list. I'm terrified.
No, it's okay.
Do I need to take notes?
No, I think you know these things. But, let's just try as people to be slightly better communicators, okay? So when somebody says, hey, do you want to go to the movies? Don't leave them hanging. You can answer,
yes.
Sure.
Or no.
Or no. Or, hey, I need to think about this a little bit more. But what is driving me crazy right now is reaching out to people with asks, and they just sit there. And it's like, this is not 1993 where we were relying on your kid sister to take a message on the phone and hand it to you. Everybody is always on their phone. Yeah. So don't be a dick. Yeah. Don't do that.
Number 1, don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. Just answer the question. Yeah. And so, I've struggled with this my whole life because I don't think I'm confrontational. I think I'm just direct.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't love confrontation. But to me, saying, do you want to do this is not a confrontation, or I don't want to do that. It doesn't hurt my feelings. Just give the person you're talking to all the information they need so they can make another decision. Don't make me play detective, right? And be like, well, I guess she's mad at me, or I guess she doesn't want to, because that's what happens to me. I'm like, well, if they didn't answer,
Did they hate me? Oh my God.
I know I'm very confident, but also did I make you mad or something? And also, screw you. If I made you mad, tell me. I am not playing detective. I am not playing detective. And number 2. This is
number 2. Okay.
I was thinking about it on the way over here because I was listening to an NPR interview. When somebody asks you a question, don't say, great question. That drives me crazy. Or if you're going to say great question, also be like, terrible question, Valerie. I want to see both. Of course, it's a good question. Right? Just answer the question. You don't need that prompt. Get rid of that. Okay, there you go. There you go. And I am single. I've been married twice and divorced twice. I don't think I make very good choices. So I don't want to say I'm available, but I am taking applications. Let's say that. Thank you, Valerie, for this opportunity.
I have to ask, and how many cats do you have?
I don't have any cats.
All right. Well.
I love animals. Outdoors and in other people's houses. I love them. But
Okay.
if I'm going to invest, it's going to be in a butler. Right? Someone who cuddles and cooks. That's what I'm looking for.
Nice.
Yeah, take that, JD Vance. I'm unmarried, I have no cats, and I'm still coming for you. Namaste.
Okay. Stephanie, are you ready for your closing
I
question?
am, thank you.
One word to describe your future.
I'm sorry for the long silence. Uncharted.
I like that.
Thank you.
Almost
And
did not
probably
know how to spell that.
in a re-education camp for liberals. Right? I'm suspecting for satire writers. Or Governor Abbott's basement in a cage.
God.
That's my future.
Let's hope for the former.
Thank you so much. This has been so fun. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah. Okay, well, that is a wrap on Comedy Wham presents Stephanie Chiarello. Stephanie, tell us where we can find you on social media. And do you have any projects that you're looking to promote?
You know what? I'm so glad you asked because I've been meaning to say
Was
something.
that a great question?
It was a great question. I didn't want to say it though. I thought it. And then see how I responded immediately to it. That would have been funny if I missed that opportunity. Well, you have promoted my shows already. I have Over the Ledge, October 11th to 13th at Scottish Rite Theater. And then the first Friday of every month is a stand-up comedy show at New World Deli. I would also like to encourage people to check their voter registration because if you've moved or if Greg Abbott is just mad at you, you might have been kicked off the polls, and to educate yourself and get out and vote.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this from out of state,
Yes.
please get that mail-in ballot thing sent quickly.
Yes.
Because we don't know what excuse might come for not getting you that ballot.
Exactly.
You young voters.
That's right.
All right. Well, we hope you've enjoyed learning about how Stephanie got to be the comedic genius that I heard today, just as much as I have. This has been Comedy Wham presents Stephanie Chiarello. I'm Valerie, and that's been funny.
Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Yay! Oh, I didn't use my... Was that breaking glass? I don't know where that one was. Okay.